Almost 1 year after releasing, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet got its first DLC in the Teal Mask. If you watched my last video on Scarlet and Violet, you'll know I loved the game despite its bugs. I thought it was a strong start to the new generation, so I was really looking forward to this DLC. I'll be going over everything added, so beware of spoilers. Otherwise, let's delve right into the video. First off, I love all the new Pokemon they added into the game since launch. From Walking Wake to Ogerpon, I'm glad Game Freak isn't being reserved about the number of Pokemon they're introducing this gen. Since Gen 6, it felt like Game Freak was trying really hard not to break 1,000 different species, that they did everything from Mega Evolution to regional variants to avoid it, so I'm glad they got over that worried and are going full throttle with the new Legendaries and Branch Evolutions. Speaking of the Legendaries, I adore the story they told with these four. In the mini-region of Kitakami, the people believed in a false myth that an ogre Pokemon attacked their village and the quote-unquote loyal three sacrificed their lives to banish it back to the mountains. However, we learned that the real story was that Ogerpon was blinded by rage that the trio killed its trainer and took off with its mask. I found the story really heart-wrenching. Also, that added context of the two being so ugly that they were initially chased out of the village was just disappointing. Ogerpon and her trainer having to hide behind a mask to be accepted into society is a theme that can be recognized in our real world. Feeling like others don't belong and driving them out hits hard and just made me feel bad for Ogerpon. Aside from that, I felt the game handled the player building trust with Ogerpon profound as you try to take back the stolen masks from these resurrected thieves. The individual Titan fights against the Legendaries were difficult, and the final fight against Ogerpon terastallizing its mask and changing both typing and ability caught me off guard. The music, the dialogue about Ogerpon's experiences, and Kieran sulking in the background after his defeat made the battle really memorable in a way other than just being a fight against a strong opponent. The fight also serving as a point of no return in regards to your friendship with Kieran also makes it impactful. But I'm getting ahead of myself. After catching Ogerpon, you realize Kieran spread the true story about what happened back then and got Ogerpon welcomed back into the village. It was a really nice conclusion for this arc, although I do question how people look at this and call it ugly. If this is what people from the Pokemon world would consider ugly, then I would be a walking crime against humanity. Now onwards to the new characters. First up, Miss Briar, Heath's descendant. While we don't get much from her, I like how they introduced her in this DLC and name-dropped Terapagos. As a whole, I think what they're doing with Terapagos is great, from a brief look at its new form in the anime to giving bits of information here and then to build it up. While there's not much I can say about Miss Briar, I will say that I like her design, and I think it's interesting that she wants to bring terastallization to other regions. It is my favorite gimmick since the Mega Evolution, so here's hoping it's more than just a 3-year deal. Next up, Carmine. When we first meet her in the game, I was worried she was going to be a carbon copy of Clara with her toxic-ish personality, but she ended up just being bratty, sort of like my own sister. I like how she mellowed out by the end and lets go of her xenophobia after bonding with the player. Her being more helpful than Arvin during the Titan fights was a huge plus in winning me over. Her behavior slowly shifting from being the bratty big sister who looks out for the player but also really cares about her brother, trying to protect him from the truth at times, was sweet. The first impression isn't everything with Carmine, and that's a twist I am thankful for. But someone who didn't mellow out by the end was Kieran, probably my favorite character they introduced. Kieran starts off shy and reserved, but they really do a 180 with his character I don't think anyone expected. First off, I love how the game tries to make you bond with him, going to each shrine and learning about his interest in Ogerpon. Makes it gut-wrenching when you have to lie about the Teal Mask to him and he starts distancing himself from you. Losing a friend you just made was a decision I didn't think they'd take in this game, but I'm glad they went with it as it's kind of realistic. Kieran felt slighted, and it shows. However, his descent into evil kinda fell out of nowhere. When he freaked out in front of the shrine before the trio were revived, I theorized that the Terra Crystal in the mask were like heightening his emotions, causing him to freak out. We know Sad and Turo were crazy for trying to bring Pokemon from the past and the future to the present, disrupting the natural habitat, but all 3 cases involved Terra Crystals to a degree, so I thought there might have been some connection. But I changed my mind by the end. I think Kieran just had to screw loose. He's coming back in the next DLC, so I can't wait to see what direction his character takes. One last thing I like about Kieran is that how you can actually see him become more and more obsessed with getting stronger, especially when he stops offering to heal you before battle and benches his ferret because it wasn't cutting it. But please don't try to relate this to Blue's Raticate. It's not dead, guys. Next up, the long-awaited arrival of Adaman's descendant, Perrin. Love the design and the fact that she has a Hisuian Growlithe. It seems Pokemon from Hisui aren't completely extinct in the modern time. It might be that the bloodlines are just passed down through families. Her story about losing her passion and being in a funk is relatable. Also, her teaming up with the player to chase down the Bloodloon Ursaluna was a nice side quest I wasn't expecting. I thought that the whole Ursaluna side quest was like some sort of zombie-esque story they were going with just because of the design, but that did not end up being the case. I also appreciate how they added music from Legends Arceus to this segment of the game, from Eternal Forest, the Alpha Pokemon battle theme. Chef's kiss. The photography minigame did feel like a shameless promotion for Pokemon Snap though. I see you, Game Freak. And last up of the new characters introduced, Nemona's parents Billy and Onara. This was the biggest whiplash I got from the DLC, because they're just kind of there. And the game doesn't even bring any attention to them. I did not even know they were in the game until I was like looking up other people's reactions to the game, and I just saw them, and I'm just sat there like, what the fuck? Anyway, the interactions with them at first were funny, and the fact that her team from the first and second battle was the same exact little 65 Persian gave me a bit of a chuckle. Looking back, I feel like they were only in the game so the player could have enough money to repair the shrine and unlock the flashy Jinbei. Otherwise, these two fall into like Soul Word and Shieldbird categories for me. I don't really care about them. Having said that, there's not much else for me to say about the DLC. I enjoyed what it added, but the game still has its bugs that stop it from being perfect. The performance issues, the times where the chunks don't load, and the game would occasionally crash when I would try to evolve Pokemon. The Teal Mask did some good for the game. While there's not much added to the gameplay, we did get an endearing story that'll have a payoff later on, so I'm really looking for part 2 of the DLC when we return to Area 0. I hope the plotline, if created for Terapagos, lives up to the hype, and I'm excited to see Kieran return. Friends to enemies is a trope I love, so hopefully Game Freak does it well. With that being said, what are your thoughts on the Teal Mask? Do you have any hopes for the next DLC? Let me know in the comment section down below. With that, this has been Esril. Hope you've enjoyed. Peace.